everybody. Welcome to Carlinea Meetup. Hold up. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Carlinea Meetup. This is a radio show where creative arts, entrepreneurship, and mental health meet. If any of that is for you, you and I can meet here on moncoradio.com every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm your host, KP Carlinea. You can call me Kim or KP or friend. On today's show, we have a special guest, Jordan.
Hello, hello.
From Bear. So before we dive into that, shout out to my small business, Carlinea. I handcraft scented products for creatives to feel inspired while they are creating. Products like candles, wax melts, fabric sprays, and you can find your favorite candles at shopcarlinea.com. By listening today, I got good news. You can use code MEETUP23 and receive free shipping on your next order. So, speaking of candles, I do have a gift for you, Jordan.
Oh my gosh, I love gifts.
It's a candle, it's a mini candle, and this is one that I curated for my Love R&B event.
Oh, yeah.
We donated 10% of ticket proceeds, and then all proceeds from the raffle. To Lifetime Connections, which is my good friend. She just opened up her couples coaching therapy practice. She's a licensed marriage and family counselor. So if you're looking to take your relationship from good to better, you don't have to have crazy problems going on. Maybe you just need better communication skills. But anyway, so this was curated for that, and it's called Thank God for Therapy.
Yes. Oh,
and
I love
it is
it.
Eucalyptus, pine, and leather. So let me know.
Gosh.
Let me
I'm
know
so
if you
happy.
like it. I'm putting you on the spot.
I'm gonna smell it right now. Okay. Oh my gosh, I love this.
You like it? I was going for the relaxed,
yes.
clear, kind of clean.
Love this. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so everybody welcome Jordan. Everybody give a round of applause. Yay. So Jordan owns a business called Bear that is a wellness brand centered around mental health, creativity, and dialogue. She hosts Instagram lives regularly where she checks in not just within herself, but she sees where her viewers are as well, to get a discussion going on about vulnerable things that people might not normally speak of. So welcome. How are you?
Yes, I'm doing so good. I'm so happy to be here.
Yay.
That was an amazing introduction.
Oh, thanks.
And this candle is everything.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm super excited to discuss some trauma, some self-care.
Yes.
Relationships, if you want, like we can talk about anything. I'm an open book. So.
Okay, good, because I got some questions for you. But first off, how was your week this past week?
My week was pretty busy. My grandmom had like a 90th birthday party celebration.
Ooh.
Yes, so amazing.
Happy birthday, Grams.
Yes, we love her.
That's beautiful.
We love grandma. So yeah, it's been pretty busy, honestly. Going back and forth, running around.
What kind of celebration did y'all do?
It was a Mardi Gras themed.
Grandma was still getting down.
Yeah, for sure. So everybody had to wear masks, and we all had to wear like the green, the gold, and the purple. But yeah, it was a really good event. It was nice.
That's really cool. Grandma's still getting down in Mardi Gras.
Oh, for sure.
So let's just dive right in.
Okay.
So if you can let me know, I know that BEAR is an acronym.
Yeah.
So if you could let me know what it stands for.
For sure. So BEAR stands for Beautifully Artistically Retaining Energy. And I kind of came up with the name a long time ago, actually. So I came up with the name probably in like 2016. And I just was like, I really like this. This is cool. But at the time, I didn't have a business behind it. I didn't have what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. It was just like, this is a cool name. Like, I like this. Fast forward to probably about a year ago when I actually started my business. I was like, what am I going to call it? Because I knew I wanted to have something centered around mental health, creativity, and dialogue, because those are all things that are super important to me. And then I was like, oh, wait, I had a name already. Let me reuse that. And that's kind of where it started. And fast forward to now, I do, like she said, lives every week. I like to focus on all different types of art. So whether you're a painter, a writer, a dancer, a photographer, any type of artistic expression, my goal is to retain that and not allow difficulties with mental health or difficulties with anything kind of take you away from your creativity and your craft. And using your craft as an avenue to get through your mental health as well. I think that's really important as a way to cope with a lot of things that are going on. Because stuff be going on. And it's a lot to handle. So using the arts to navigate that in a healthy way. So,
yeah, I feel like that's why I was like, I got to get Jordan on here because I feel like I'm all about the intersection of mental health with your creative arts, and how it seems like a lot of artistic people, creative in whatever way, deal with a lot of depression. And I don't know if it's because they might be more, well, if you ask me, real quick tangent, I think that everybody is creative in some way.
Absolutely.
Like, even if people think like, oh, I just got a business mindset, I like money, there's still an art to how you manage your money and now that's not my forte, but I think like anybody who is willing to explore their creative side, I feel like it brings out I guess you explore your emotions deeper. So maybe you can feel things a little harder.
You do. So it's like opening up like a Pandora's box of emotions where all of the things that you're tapping into are readily available. So you do feel things a little bit more intensely, like sadness or depression or anxiety. It just comes with it. So it's kind of this idea of like radical acceptance. Like if you want to experience emotions and create, you got to take all of it. Like you can't pick and choose what emotions you get. You know, you can't always be happy. So being able to feel all different types of emotions in their intensity, I think is a part of why people are so creative.
And I would argue like the scarier whatever you're going through, if you produce in that time, probably the more impactful
for sure.
whatever you're producing is.
The stuff you create when you're down or when you're going through something is like some of the best stuff. I know personally for me.
I know.
I create the best when I'm upset, when I'm frustrated, when I'm sad, if I'm depressed, if I'm anxious. That's when I can really tap into my emotions and really create something.
Do you think because it's out of necessity? Because you're trying to
sometimes
pull yourself
it is.
up?
Sometimes it is out of necessity where it's like I don't know how else to communicate this besides a creative outlet. I think sometimes it's definitely a coping skill. It's definitely a mechanism to work through my own stuff. But sometimes it is just for fun.
I heard one singer, she said that she wasn't sure if her music was going to be received the same because she was in a happier state. And everybody's used to her making like the sad, toxic love theme.
Right.
Or love anthems. And I mean, do you think it's possible, or do you think it's as common when you're in a more joyful state to create art that a lot of people like?
I don't think it's common, no. I think it's really hard to create from a space of healthy happiness. Like,
that's sad.
It is sad in its own way. I think it is difficult to do that. I know in my own experience, if I'm like good and I'm like happy and I'm just like, I kind of can't produce the type of art or creative things that I normally would produce that I know people would receive. I can create something. It may be something, but it's not going to be like my best work.
I got to come to the bottom of that because I need to know why. Why can't we be happy and create masterpieces
and create
too?
masterpieces too, right? For sure.
So, moving on to the next question I have for you. On a recent live, you mentioned that you had to take some time apart for yourself to kind of practice what you preach more.
Absolutely.
And so what were you like going through emotionally that made you notice, okay, I need to take care of myself and get off, whatever it was, get off social media?
So I'm really big on, like you said, I'm not in the business of telling my followers something that I'm not practicing myself. So I found myself posting things or saying things that I didn't even believe myself. And for me, I had to take a step back and have that self-awareness of like, you need to check in on you. Like you're giving a lot right now and you're not putting anything back into yourself. I think that at that time I was kind of going through like a transition where I was kind of moving through, I always thinking like versions of myself, and I felt like I was leaving a version of myself, and it was pretty difficult
that is beautiful.
for me to be able to communicate while I was in that space. And I just felt really like closed off in a way, like I'm in my cocoon, like I don't want to give anymore because I need to like fill myself up. So yeah, that's what made me take that break and just reevaluating relationships, reevaluating my goals, and kind of seeing, okay, what's next, like what am I doing. So yeah, it took about a couple months, honestly, probably from like October to February.
It probably felt so good too.
It did. No pressure. Like, no need to check nothing. I don't have to post anything.
Yeah, you don't know what's going
on.
I don't know
what's going on. Like, it was definitely
a beautiful thing.
It was a nice hiatus for sure.
Yeah,
a good break.
Yeah. Plus, I feel like in order to, like you said, you got to fill yourself up in order to pour yourself out as well.
Absolutely.
So it's constantly like this cycle of taking in, and when I say taking in, like either secluding yourself or just being out there living life and not necessarily giving to people as much, so that when you're like, all right, I'm good, like then you can be social
you can
again.
Do all of that, exactly. So you have to, but you have to pour more in than you're giving out as well. Like, it can't be a 1-to-1 ratio. Like, if I have to give myself 2 and I have to give you 1, I can't give you 2 and 2. Because now
I never heard it like that.
Yeah, like now it's empty.
That's
either
a good
way,
point.
It's always empty at some point. So always
2
give
to
it
1.
Yeah, 2-to-1 ratio.
Give yourself more. Right, that's true.
Yeah, so you're not depleted. You're not feeling burnt out.
Every time you
give, it's like, damn, I'm tired. Like,
wow.
Exhausted. So yeah, 2-to-1 ratio, I think, is a good way to go about it.
That's a good little segue to our musical break. This is gonna be Janae Aiko Summer 2020. Welcome back. Welcome back to Carlinea Meetup. I'm your host, KP Carlinea. This is a radio show where creative arts, entrepreneurship, and mental health meets. We meet every Tuesday at 6 p.m. on moncoradio.com. Today we have Jordan from Bear, and we were just discussing, well, we covered a lot of things.
We did.
15 minutes, right. But what we were just discussing was, well, first we checked in to see how she was doing, but we kind of were talking about pouring into yourself in order to be able to create again and be with other people again, taking that hiatus. But I don't want to go too much into that because we're going to talk about self-care at the end.
For sure.
But I want to talk about trauma healing. So I know you said, you have like that's your forte, like you have a big interest in that. Can you talk about what exactly is trauma? Like, how do you know you experienced a traumatic experience?
Right, okay, so by definition, trauma is any experience that changed who you are. That is trauma. Anything, if you think of it in a medical sense, like if you get like a little paper cut, that's a form of trauma. Anything that disrupts your baseline of where you are as an individual, as a human, can be considered traumatic. Another thing about trauma is people can experience the same event and one person could not be affected by it. So trauma is very unique. It's very unique. It's very specific to each individual. And I think that sometimes people will hear a situation like, oh, that's not traumatic. Yeah. You don't know. Like, it could have a major effect on somebody that you may not have experienced if it happened to you.
And there could be another traumatic reason behind the reason why that was traumatic to them.
Exactly. It might not even be the event. It may be what the event like signifies or what it means, or at the time it happened. You know, different. There's so many different factors that go into trauma. But trauma is my specialty. I love trauma. I don't love trauma, but I chose to make that my specialty because it really impacts so many different areas of therapy. Whether it's like relationship counseling, whether it's individual counseling, whether you're doing like sex therapy, all of these different things, like trauma is intertwined with all of it. So I didn't want to focus on like just family and marriage or just couples. I wanted to be able to go wherever and kind of help in different ways. Yeah.
Because it spills out everywhere.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like COVID. It's
that
everywhere.
part. That part.
It's everywhere.
And it's contagious.
And it's contagious, for sure.
So what can trauma show up as? Physically, mentally, emotionally, you know, what do you think are common ways it might show up as? Or even if it's not common?
Just how does it show up?
Yeah.
Yeah, so trauma can show up physically in your body. Trauma can cause actual medical problems. So from just the stress of it, the anxiety that comes with it, panic attacks, weight loss, weight gain. Also, if there was physical trauma that happened to the body, trigger warning. If anybody, domestic abuse, stuff like that, it can show up that way as well, where you have a physical representation of what happened to you.
Yeah.
Mentally, you can have, trust issues. You can have very porous boundaries. You can have just kind of a very pessimistic outlook on life, where you think just because it happened this one time, it's always going to happen.
That is
it's always
me.
Gonna happen.
That is me.
Yeah, just kind of having this pretty negative outlook on life. Also yourself. Negative self-talk is a big thing that comes with trauma.
That is me too. Raise your hand in the class if you've ever been a victim.
Yeah, negative self-talk is huge because the thing about trauma is it really is the most painful. Not saying that anyone's trauma is worse than anyone else's trauma, but when you have those invisible wounds that you're hurting on the inside that you can't really show anybody and you look fine, that's always harder to communicate to people. I'm going through something. You're you look fine.
Right.
You're smiling. We see these people who commit suicide and it's they looked fine.
They were rich.
They had the money. They had everything.
Happy kids.
But those invisible wounds are really where trauma thrives, when the things people can't see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, I was going through probably the hardest time in my life, but I was 40 pounds lighter, and I looked good on the outside,
right?
But
on the
inside,
yeah,
I wanted to sleep,
right,
for 24 hours.
For sure.
So it's so interesting how you're it thrives in that. Yeah.
Yeah, because once you have exactly, once you have a traumatic experience, that event kind of stays in your body, physically, emotionally, mentally.
Yeah. Even
though the event has passed, it still stays there. So from the trauma, you start to experience a whole lot of other mental health issues.
Yes.
So now you're depressed. So now you can't even get to the root of your trauma because you're trying to maintain your depression.
Yes.
And you can't even get to why it made you feel the way that it did.
Right.
So it just brings on all of its mental health buddies, and they all just try to gang up on you.
Right.
And now you can't even get to the root of your problem because you're dealing with so much else. And on top of living, just being a human.
Yeah, you gotta still
maintain the responsibility. Exactly.
School.
Exactly. Trying to maintain
kids.
Okay.
Parents they taking care of.
You may be dealing with somebody else's mental health issues.
Yeah. Yep.
So you can't even focus on your issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know for myself, trauma, during the time when it was really rough, I don't get them as much anymore, but I was having night terrors, real bad. It would wake me up into a panic attack where my heart is racing.
Yeah.
Can't go back to sleep. I'm scared. I never felt that type of fear where I was really fearing my life.
Yeah.
It felt like my life was being endangered.
Right.
But now, I've been fortunate enough to be in constant therapy, so I have better tools now. But now, we still dealing with some residual,
of course,
life.
Yeah.
And now I get severe, or if I get severe anxiety, it sits in my stomach and I get nauseous. That's how it always shows up.
That's from it's gonna make sense. So trust me.
Okay.
All right. So what is the stomach made to do?
Digest.
The stomach, your intestine, is the largest muscle in your body. Right? So the reason why is because we have to digest physically. We have to digest the things that have happened to us. That's your processing center. That's where a lot of times you get that gut feeling
Yeah.
It sits in your stomach. All of that anxiety, all of the trauma often sits in your stomach, which is why you lose weight, you gain weight. You know, it's all coming from your stomach because that is your muscle to digest, not just food, not just liquid, but like actual things that have happened to you. That's what your stomach is made for.
Right.
So when you're feeling stuff like in your stomach, when you're going through anxiety or
I have no
stress,
appetite.
it's all there because it's too busy to eat.
Yeah.
It's trying to process all of these things that are happening to me.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also a sign that things are working. You know what I'm saying?
True.
Like your body is doing what it's supposed to do, trying to digest the things that have happened to you. Yeah, so.
That was deep.
It's working.
Yeah. That was deep. I'm cutting that into a clip that's going up on the Instagram. That was deep.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I always wonder. I just thought it was like, I don't know, something random. But I guess nothing with the body is random.
No.
But I just was like, yeah, my anxiety sits in my stomach. I get nauseous anytime I get nervous. And like a lot of the nervous energy will come from nowhere.
Yeah.
But I guess it is coming from somewhere, but I am not.
You're not consciously thinking about it, but subconsciously, it's something else.
Until I go to sleep and I have a nightmare, I'm like, oh, that's what my
subconscious.
subconscious. Yeah, that's what I'm low key worried about.
Exactly.
This
your
job
body is smart. You gotta trust your body.
Right.
Like, your body knows what's going on. Even if you say I'm over it, I'm not thinking about it. You have, like you said, those night terrors. Your subconscious is still trying to work through the things that you said that you're over consciously.
Yeah. Right.
For sure.
Another way, we're just gonna air out all my laundry, but another way trauma shows up for me, but I know it's real common, is I will think of the worst case scenario and convince myself that's probably what's gonna happen. And I know it's because before other unfavorable outcomes have happened, so I'm convinced subconsciously that that's how it's always gonna be.
Yeah, there's two aspects to that. So one, that's a cognitive distortion. You're making stuff up in your mind.
Yeah.
You're making it up. You're making it up, and your brain is going with what you tell it to believe. So it feels very real, and it feels very much like facts. That's just what that is. Stop making stuff up. Another thing is
make up the good stuff.
Make up the good stuff, exactly. Another aspect to that is your intuition. So it's very hard to trust yourself or go with your intuition when your intuition is telling you something bad is going to happen. But your intuition can also be clouded by trauma. So now you have all this self-doubt. Now you're like, I don't know if I could trust myself. Like, I don't have that gut feeling no more because now my intuition
is this God or is it trauma?
Exactly.
Is this
my
me or
intuition
trauma?
is foggy. So kind of doing some work around cleansing your intuition with just small stuff. I know personally I use a pendulum type of thing, and it sounds crazy, but it really, really works. Just try to ask yourself small questions that you know.
Is that a type of hypnosis?
No.
Okay.
No, it's just an energy movement. So it's like when you're holding it, your energy from your body is moving it in a certain way. So you'll start off, you'll like show me yes and show me no, just to kind of establish what direction is yes and what direction is no. And then you'll go ask like simple questions. Is my name Kim? And I'll say yes or no.
Does it create like a little baseline?
Exactly. It does. So
grounding?
Yeah.
Okay.
A grounding technique. But it also helps with your intuition, kind of being able to trust yourself.
Okay.
It sounds small, but sharing the things that you do know about yourself and kind of establishing that foundation, like, I am this. Using those I statements.
Yes.
All right. I am a business owner. I'm doing okay. Like, I mean, like saying those things are really important to kind of establishing that self-confidence and that self-compassion towards yourself.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you for all that insight.
Of course.
We're just going to take a short break. This is Get It Together by India Irie. Dinner time on MoncoRadio.com. And if you are not tuned in, you are definitely missing a great, great episode. I'm so happy that Jordan is here. We have a special guest. Her name is Jordan. She has a wellness brand called Bear. And she's all things mental health and creativity and just talking about the things that are not as commonly talked about. Vulnerability, self-care. We were just discussing trauma healing and it was so insightful. So insightful. So yeah, Jordan, how you feeling?
I'm
you
feeling
still hanging
great.
in there with me?
I'm feeling really great. I'm enjoying this for sure.
Okay. So, by the way, what was just playing was Get It Together, Indie Ivory. So now we're not just gonna trauma dump you and leave you at the overwhelming of, all right, I experienced trauma. We all have in this life. This world is traumatic.
For sure.
Relationships are traumatic.
For sure.
Family is everything is traumatic, right? So how can we take care of the trauma? We're gonna talk about self-care.
Yeah.
So let's say you had a stressful week, Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
What does self-care look like for you? How are you unwinding?
First thing first, I'm turning my phone off. I'm turning my phone off. I don't want to see
Say it again.
I don't want to see an Instagram notification. I don't want to see a Twitter. I don't want
Right.
to see nothing.
I don't want to see a
I don't
tweet.
even want to see a text. Like, I got to turn my phone off. Even
Right.
if it's not for, like, the whole weekend, I at least have to have, like, 5-6 hours where my phone is just, I don't even know where it is.
Yeah.
That's, like, so important, just to get your mind off of it. After that, I'm definitely going to get me some good food, some, like, comfort food. I got to have some comfort
This sounds
food.
good right now.
Yeah. Got to have some comfort food. And then I like to make sure my spaces are clean. Like, when I am, like, all over the place, my space is all over the place.
It's so true.
So, when
true.
I clean, I feel like, okay, I can kind of start to declutter my mind now, because my mind will be everywhere. So yeah, definitely clean spaces, clean sheets.
Yes.
Next thing, I gotta have my diffuser going. My diffuser is so important to me.
Diffuser is bae.
Okay, I get my essential oils. My favorite is lavender. So I have lavender soap. I have a bunch of different calming things that kind of help me kind of get into that space where I'm like really calm and really like just and at one with myself.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna sleep. I'm
Yeah.
gonna get some good sleep.
Night
my
night.
self-care, yeah, like just sleep where I'm just like resting, like TV's not on, nothing, where my brain can actually like go to sleep.
That sounds like a good recharge.
Yes. Oh, and I also have blackout curtains.
Oh,
Major key.
I got that.
Major
But
key.
you know what? I love me some colored lights.
I have them, but blackout curtains.
Do you turn them off when you nap?
Yes.
Or when you go to okay? See,
Yeah,
I
I
don't,
to.
and I'm having a.
I feel like I'm sleeping in a club if I don't, if I keep my LED lights on.
That's so true. That is
like
so
I fell
true.
asleep in the club. I'm that one friend.
Because mine are blue, so it's like mine is less clubby and more like I fell asleep in the middle of a PlayStation. Like I'm in a PlayStation.
You're in a PlayStation.
But that's true. I should turn them down because they be
turn
bright.
them on.
But I just love
Right.
colored lights. It's just so cute.
I mean, I feel like it's cool to have them on, but when you know you really need to like
sleep.
rest and you really need
For
to
sure.
sleep, like I turn everything off. I'm like in a pitch black room.
I do have the blackout curtains though.
Yeah.
That's necessary.
Yes, major. I also have like different soundscapes that I listen to, whether it's
I
just
love
like the
them.
water or like the wind or something like that. Just kind of put me in a different space
Yeah.
that I'm in physically.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, those are my little self-care things I like to do. Definitely light a
That
candle.
sounded like a good recharge. Right. But don't fall asleep with the candle lit, y'all.
Okay.
Do not fall
Don't do
asleep.
that.
Just sounds like a good recharge. Like
Yeah.
and that's gonna take the whole day because
Yes.
I'm napping 4 or 5 hours.
Exactly. I'm getting a nice little sleep in and just chilling. And
Mhm.
just like put on something comfy. Like I love having on my robe. I have like a specific robe. It's like a red plush robe.
Do you have a favorite mug?
Yes, I do.
I knew it. I knew it.
It says self-love is the best love. That's
Of
what my
course,
mug
very
says.
on brand.
Very on brand. Yeah, my favorite tea. Just like my favorite things that I know like make me feel good.
Yeah.
I always make sure I incorporate them in for sure.
I just reposted this meme yesterday that was like, or today, that said, it's funny how the punishments you would get as a kid is now like
Yes, send me to
self-care
bed.
or exactly
Send me to bed.
going to bed early,
Yeah.
missing parties,
Yes.
no phone,
Yes.
stuff like that. I'm like, yo, that's
You're
so
like,
true.
that sounds great. As a kid, you're like, what did I do? To
That's a
deserve
good
this?
Saturday night.
Yes, no phone, no
Mhm.
party. Like,
I
going
mean, I
out
love
is
being
like
out,
a
but-
lot sometimes. Though.
But a lot of times
It's
you
a
need
lot,
to.
yeah.
Like, you
You
go
ever
out
went
once,
out and you be like, I knew I should have stayed home.
All the time because
knew
I don't know how to
should've
say
stayed
no.
home. Yeah. So, we got work on them boundaries.
Don't worry, that was a good segment. That was my next question.
Boundaries.
No, they are better. They are better. Let me not play myself. I'm doing good, y'all. But
give yourself some credit.
Yeah, pat on the back.
Yes.
It used to be a doormat with Kimberly Pessoa on it, and I'm not like that no more, thank God. But so that was actually my next question was, what does self-care look like in maintaining relationships?
Ooh, that's a beautiful question.
And I know boundaries.
Boundaries is a big thing. Boundaries
on.
are huge, yo. Like, your boundaries are really like the foundation. So think of yourself as a house. The boundaries are the doors. You know, like you can have a cracked door, you can have a closed door, or the revolving door, or it's no door on there at all.
No door.
So yeah, boundaries are huge. So you have your rigid boundaries where you're just like very closed off, don't let nobody in. Major trust issues, just like no. Your porous boundaries are just like loosey goosey, kind of like you said, the doormat type of thing, like let people do whatever.
Yeah.
Overly involved in other people's problems. Making yourself available all the time, like you're always available, stuff like that. And then you have your healthy boundaries, where you have like a mix of both. And it's really hard to have healthy boundaries, especially if they're relationships that you already have, and then you try to reestablish a new boundary with the same relationship. People looking at you like, you let me do this for this long. Why are you switching up now? Why are you switching up on me now?
Snap.
So it's very hard to establish boundaries within an existing relationship. But I think, like you said, like self-care and boundaries, they go hand in hand. Having those boundaries allows you to maintain yourself, to maintain like your baseline, to maintain your happiness.
Yeah.
And kind of keep stuff to you, like just keeping stuff close to you where you feel like you're not losing yourself to other people and you're not giving parts of yourself to people. Because that's really what it is when you have, those very loose boundaries. You're like giving parts of yourself.
Yeah.
You're giving people permission to kind of do whatever they want to do. So now you feel so depleted, empty, and you're drained. And then
you're miserable.
You're miserable. And then when you want to do self-care, you don't even have the energy to do it because you didn't gave everything to everybody else.
Next thing you know, depression.
Anxiety. They knocking at your door like, oh, we can come in too. That's another thing. Like boundaries, they let people in, let things in. When you have those loose boundaries, depression can come in, anxiety can come in, self-doubt can come in, imposter syndrome can slide up in there. Like everybody coming in.
That's a cute one too.
Yeah,
she likes to come in her best fit.
Yeah, she be stepping. She the auntie that you only see for like the big occasions.
Holidays.
Imposter syndrome will walk up in there with her Birkin bag like, hello, I'm here.
You thought I was gone.
You thought I was gone? No, I just took a vacation. Like I'm here. So yeah.
And I feel like the more you take that time out alone, self-care, like you were saying, turn off your phone and just recharging yourself, the more you can also sit with your thoughts and be like, you know what, I'm not willing to do this. You learning yourself more and learning where you need the boundaries, because you're like,
right.
When I did this is how it left me.
Yeah, because sometimes like, set boundaries. It sounds like such a blanket statement, but if you don't know where you need to set the boundaries and what actual...
And with who,
it's like you're just like, okay, I'm going to set some boundaries.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like once you set them, that's honestly the easiest part, is setting them. But that maintaining them, when people push back against your boundaries, having the courage to be like, okay, no, I'm going to continue to reinforce this boundary because this is something that's important to me.
Yeah.
That's the hard part.
Yeah.
For sure. That pushback you get where it's like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Or they just like outright disrespect your boundary like altogether. And you're like, okay, I told you, so now you know. So now you're being disrespectful.
Yeah.
Now I got to cut you off. Like, it has to be that serious where it's like, I told you what's going on. These are my boundaries and I'm sticking to them.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
She's like,
Can you think of a time where you had like in your life, what's been the most common boundary that has been overstepped by other people? Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, no. People thinking I want their opinion because of their position in my life. That's a big one. So my
Okay,
mom,
yeah,
for
I wanna
example,
follow that.
like
Mhm.
I'll tell her, I don't really want to hear your opinion about this.
Mhm.
Whether it's like what I'm wearing, my clothes, who I'm hanging out with, whatever. I'm like, I don't really want to hear that. Or sometimes it's she's bringing up a situation that I have moved past
Okay.
that she still thinks I need to give more attention to. So stuff like that,
Oh,
where
I
yeah,
feel that one.
yeah, she thinks I need to. Well, what are you gonna do? I'm like, I don't want to talk about that with you.
Right.
That's a boundary that's most commonly crossed when I say I don't want to talk about something. And people think because of my profession and what I do, I always want to talk about my feelings. But I'm human as well. There's certain things that I don't want to talk about with you. And not saying that I don't talk about them because I do have a therapist. Therapists have therapists. But I just don't want to talk about it with you. And I feel like that boundary is always crossed just because she is my mom.
Yeah.
Or just because it is my friend. Or just because, you know, their title in my life, they think they have access and free reign to kind of say whatever, do whatever. And I'm just like, no, I don't want to.
Yeah.
We got to keep some
Access denied.
distance. Right.
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest one that has been crossed for me.
So what would you, and we did kind of talk about it, but do you have any advice for people who are exploring what boundaries they need to place, like any practical tips on how to find what boundaries they need to place or with who? Like, what are some red flags where they could be like, oh, maybe that needs to be a boundary. Maybe I need to do that different.
Yeah, for sure. I think the most practical way is write it down. I would categorize, you know, family, friends, work, because your boundaries are going to be different depending on the environment.
Yeah.
So, you know, you may have more rigid boundaries while you're at work because you have a professional environment.
Yeah.
Versus your relationships and your family, it's like your boundaries may be a little bit more porous. So I think identifying where your boundaries are currently and then where you want them to be is a good step. And then as far as red flags, is go off of how you feel. Like that instant reaction was like, oh, that was kind of messed up.
Yeah.
Explore that. Be like, why did I feel that way? And kind of then you be like, okay, maybe I need to realign and adjust this boundary. So just paying attention to yourself, trusting yourself, and knowing that you have the tools that you need to be able to set those boundaries. And that you're capable of doing it and sticking to it. For sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Jordan. Jordan was up here not preaching, but preaching in the good way.
Yes,
a lot of good tips, a lot of good insight, very encouraging. I'm just really happy that you were here today.
So I'm so happy to be here.
You gotta come back. I'm already plotting on like the second time you come back.
Yes, let me know for sure.
But I do want to finish off with talking about Bear.
Yeah.
If you're just joining in, Bear is her wellness brand where she discusses creativity, mental health, things like that of that nature. So what's next for Bear?
Ooh, yay, I love this question. My throat.
That's all right.
So I have a new shirt coming out. It's called New Boundaries, Who This?
Ooh, look at the alignment. What did we just talk about?
Yes, New Boundaries, Who This? I'm so excited. And then I'm in the process of creating like an open forum type of thing, like actual physical space where people can really come and sit down and talk. I have a few licensed therapists and people, because sometimes you just don't know how to get the resources.
Yeah,
that's like a big thing. It's not that you don't want help, but it's like once you go on Google, it's just like an overwhelming amount of information. So kind of creating an open space where people can just come, ask any questions. We'll do a discussion board, stuff like that. So that'll be coming probably around May. So yeah, just kind of trying to be a resource. That's like
awesome.
Really all I want to do is just be a resource for people and to just help as much as I can.
Well, I definitely believe in what you're doing. I'm gonna be there.
Yes.
I'm a fan. Definitely need that shirt.
Yes.
And I need she has a pushing peace.
Yeah, we pushing peace around here for sure.
Yes.
For sure.
So that and New Boundaries, Who This?
Yes.
That might be my favorite one.
Yeah, New Boundaries, Who This?
That's creative. I like that.
For sure.
All right, well, we're gonna leave you off with a little 1-2. This is just a feel-good song, so I felt like that's why I wanted to incorporate it. But this is Stevie Wonder, That Girl. And before I close out with the song, first off, thank you for joining me on Carlinea Meetup. Again, this is a radio show where creative arts, entrepreneurship, and mental health meet. I'm on moncoradio.com every Tuesday at 6 p.m. You can find me. Oh, we got to get your handles too.
Mm-hmm.
You can find me on Instagram at KP.Carlinea. You can find Jordan at
Bear.Bewell, BARE.BEWELL, or my personal Instagram is As Told by Jordiana.
As Told by Jordiana.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, so hit her up for that New Boundaries Who Does t-shirt.
Yes.
I'm gonna definitely be looking out for that.
For
Pushing
sure.
Pieces, that's already out.
Yeah,
though,
Pushing
right?
Pieces already out. You can place an order. I'll get it to you as soon as I can, for sure.
And thank God for therapy.
And thank
That'll
God
be
for
on
therapy.
my website
This
soon.
candle, y'all. This candle smells so good. Like, honestly, no cap. I'm ready to light it.
Good.
Right
I'm
now.
glad. Well, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, of course.
Me, really, not us. But I hope you guys had a good show. You enjoyed the show. Shout out to my Instagram Live viewers. And peace out. We'll see you next Tuesday.